I know what you're thinking. The title, it's like pretty damn obvious. Like at the end of the day, yeah, it would suck to be Jason Todd. I know, I'm sure a lot of us have sat there and been like, oh, it would be really cool to be Robin, or really cool to do this, or really cool to be this. And that's kind of just like the fan or the fanatic like side of us being like, oh, this would be so awesome. But honestly, it would genuinely suck to be someone like Jason Todd. And obviously we're going to get into like the very brutal stuff of like, you know, why it's horrible to be Jason Todd. But the very first thing, right? If you're in this world and you replace Jason Todd, there's one thing that would irritate you even before all the horrible Joker stuff, which we will get into in a second. But even outside of that, you will always be in the constant shadow of what we call, right, like a Robin, right? The Robin effect. Because he wasn't the first Robin. We all know who the first Robin was. The first Robin was Dick Grayson, the golden child, right? The one, the only, the one to eventually become Nightwing, the one and only, well, true Robin. That is who Dick Grayson was. So growing up and learning from Batman and training and doing all this stuff, and frankly, being behind the shadow of someone like Dick Grayson would always be very difficult. I'm not saying this be the most difficult thing in the entirety of the life of Jason Todd, but it's definitely up there. Jason would constantly have to live in the shadow of the Grayson, or in the shadow of Grayson, and being compared to the original Robin, who everyone loved. Everything was put right forth, and everybody remembered that as that specific Robin. Maybe it would eat you, the pressure would eat you, and maybe, yeah, on the outside you'd be like, no, it doesn't bother me. I'm training, I'm planning, I'm getting better. I'm doing everything I can to basically become the best Robin I could possibly be. But there's always going to be something in the back of your head that's saying, you have to be better. You have to be better than Dick Grayson. You have to be better than the original Robin. You have to live up to the hype. You have to live up to the expectations. And that could really mess someone up. But that's obviously not the only thing that makes it horrible to be Jason Todd. Obviously, Jason Todd went through a horrible situation and a horrible torture situation with the Joker himself. I mean, this was something that was horrendous, terrible, and honestly, there's so many versions of this brutal beatdown and this absolute horrible thing that the Joker does. But at the end of the day, what makes it so much worse isn't the pain that was inflicted, but really the emotional pain that Jason goes through. Jason goes through an insane amount of emotional pain involving really thinking about Batman, wondering, he's going to save me, right? Day in and day out, he's going to save me. Day 2 happens, he's going to save me. 3, 4, 5 months happen. These are the things that Jason Todd probably was thinking, like, oh, I'm going to be saved. Bruce is going to save me. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to go back into my old life all over again, and everything will be happy and dandy. But we all know that's not what happens, right? It's never that simple, and it never goes in that direction. And Jason is brutally tortured, just destroyed and mentally just messed with. And frankly, at the end of the day, he is so messed up to the point where, honestly, being sent away to the afterlife may have been mercy. It genuinely may have been mercy. And what makes it worse is that it wasn't quick. What makes it worse is that it wasn't the end. Because guess what? All that trauma, all that stuff that was embedded into him, it made it even worse after he had his resurrection. Because when he came back, right? Surprise, surprise, Jason Todd was not sent to the afterlife fully. And he gets brought back by the Lazarus Pit, you know, depending on the version we're talking about, of course. Some versions, you know, that's not the case. Some, he doesn't actually get, you know, croak. He doesn't actually croak and stuff like that. But there is a version where he goes through the Lazarus Pit, and it makes things so much worse because we know how much the resurrection from the Lazarus Pit comes at an insane cost. You thought his mind, his his anger, everything was already at an all-time high. When you come back from the Lazarus pit, your mind is different. It shatters. Your emotions, your soul, it fractures itself, and you become angrier, more violent, and even struggle to figure out even what's real and what's not, and struggle to figure out what's even going on. And at the end of the day, he was already angry. He was already at the breaking point of thinking, Batman let me go. Batman betrayed me. He sent me away. He treated me like garbage because guess what? He didn't come to save me. Where was he? He wasn't here. So the Lazarus pit itself, I mean, it made things so much worse. And on top of that, when he even got a little grasp of what he could figure out and what he could do and who he was and what was going on, he finally would get a chance to kind of, I wouldn't say reconcile the relationship with Batman, but at least figure out in his own eyes what the heck has been going on. Because their relationship, Batman or Bruce and Jason Todd, is a very complicated one. It's a very awkward and complicated one that, frankly, Jason Todd doesn't necessarily know how to approach. And with all that anger built up, he wants to show and basically punish and show how much punishment he went through to the big guy, right? To Batman. So he does that. There's a version, obviously, of Jason Todd that we see him capture the Joker and then confront Batman as well. Basically telling him like, how could you do this? I can forgive you for basically losing me. I can forgive you for not being able to save me. But how could you do this? And he shows the Joker. The Joker's still alive, still breathing, all of these things. And he's like, how could you do this? How could you keep him here? I thought that losing me, that I would be enough to make you understand that you needed to avenge me, to avenge my life as Robin, to avenge me. But instead, this is what happens, right? You throw me away like I'm some, old toy. And that's what it was. That's the mind mess kind of insane kind of thought process that Jason's going to go around in his own brain. I'm not saying it's insane in terms of he's fully wrong, but I'm saying insane in terms of, like, I'm sure in his own brain from the Lazarus pit and all the torturing, it is firing off on all cylinders. Like, his brain is probably making himself like a lunatic, right? Legitimately like a lunatic, because he just went through absolute hell. And now he's looking at the one person that could have saved him, the one person that is truly like a father figure and someone he believed like he would save him no matter what, right? Looking at him, and he's telling him that he couldn't do it, that he couldn't get rid of the Joker, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. And Jason's like, why? I don't get it, Bruce. And it makes Jason feel like he didn't love him, like he wasn't like a son, like he didn't actually care about him. And imagine how messed up that would really F with your brain as Jason Todd, or, being Jason Todd, because guess what? He just went through absolute hell. He went through torture. He got resurrected. He tried everything in his power to show Batman like, hey, I'm here and I'm going to stop crime now, blah, blah, blah. And then he shows Batman like, are you serious? This guy, the guy that did all this to me and was the reason why I went through all this, is still here. He's still here doing the same things over and over and over again. So all of that love in that relationship for Bruce and Jason Todd really turned into a lot more hate, at least on the aspect of Jason Todd despising Batman and despising Bruce to a certain extent, because he desperately wanted something from Bruce. He wanted not necessarily approval, but he wanted like proof that Bruce truly cared, and all he needed to do was take out the Joker, and that really messes with Jason Todd. And at the end of the day, it just made him feel like he never truly belonged in the Bat family. Like he is this black sheep, a black sheep that legitimately was one of the most promising Robins and turned into this monster that goes against all the codes of what Batman is trying to do. Too brutal compared to what they are, right? With criminals, he's too much of a hero to truly fit into the idea of being a criminal, but he is not a hero by the association of what Batman deems to be a hero either. Jason is the person that really had his mind jacked up so much that he knew that the only way for him to stop crime is to become a criminal to a certain extent and stop the things that were just horrendous, right? Stop the things that really messed up a society. Because guess what? Sometimes it's an understanding, or there needs to be an understanding, that crime will never stop. But with Jason, he believed, hey, I'm going to stop it by any means necessary. So he has to deal with some of the most gross, disgusting people and put them in line. Put them in line so they know, hey, look, you can do whatever, all this other stuff, right? You can make money, be a criminal, steal, do this. But these are the lines you don't cross. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't hurt children. You don't hurt women. You don't do this and that. You know what I mean? And these are things that Jason had to force upon himself and make it so that he is the enemy of a hero, but he is also feared by the criminal, right? These criminals don't look up to Jason like, that is my leader. They look, at him in fear, or really look away from him in fear because of what he brings to the table and what he does to people that decide to go against what he truly believes. I mean, this dude has the most insane kind of and brutal backstory you can really think of, giving him these insane trust issues. I mean, this dude, has felt dying, has felt betrayal, has felt abandonment, has felt these horrible relationships with people, and it's like he's living with this insane amount of rage every single day. He has to legitimately battle with himself on probably his own anger, and he wants justice, but his version of justice, because guess what? He sees it, and he has been firsthand at seeing it, that Batman's version of justice just doesn't work. So he's going to be the justice. He's going to do anything in his power to make sure that justice can ensue. And when you do anything in your power, let's just be honest, you really, really mess up who you are as a person. Even if morally you have the right quote-unquote idea sometimes, it doesn't mean that taking yourself over that edge really is good for you as a person, in terms of your mentality, in terms of, your headspace and your emotions and your anger and all that stuff. Jason lives with it. Jason lives with all of it. He is this legacy of pain that he goes through. And frankly, yes, to an extent he does good, but it's going to be overshadowed by everything in his past. And he's always going to be looked at as, like I said, this dark sheep that is a part of these big justice family, or the Bat family that will, it was so good, right? Everybody, they're so awesome, they're so helpful. But they're going to look at Jason Todd, and they're going to look at him as if he's truly the Robin who died. It's not just he came back. It's not about any of that. Robin died with Jason Todd, and that resurrection brought us the Red Hood. So at the end of the day, Jason Todd, he is gone. That version of him is gone. And all there is left is the Red Hood, and the amount of mental gymnastics he probably goes through on a day-to-day basis from, all the stuff he went through, but also the Lazarus pit and everything else added in between. I mean, these are things that make it so that, honestly, if you were Jason Todd, it would absolutely suck. And really, at the end of the day, why it would suck to just be Jason Todd in the first place. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoy. If you did, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts on the video are. And that's all I really got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.